Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Meeting to order for April 3rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. And we need to review our minutes from last month. So a motion to approve and any comments?
Motion to approve.
There any corrections or problems with our minutes? No. Okay. Those in favor of the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sue, I don't think we got a second though, or did we?
Yeah, there was. Yeah. We have.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just didn't hear it.
Okay. Yep, we had the second, and I heard you say aye as well, Heidi, and so those minutes are approved. Public appearances for non-agenda items, we have registered folks here for agenda items. I don't see anyone for non-agenda, so we'll move on to reviewing and approving this agenda. Motion to approve this agenda. Any comments?
All motion.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments about this agenda? Those in favor of the agenda as written, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll stick with this agenda then. We have 5A, and we have a citizen who wishes to comment, or registering only in opposition to the forest management consultant. That's Patrick Cheney of 5211 Kitty Crest. And Scott, go ahead then and introduce your remarks.
Yes, thank you, Sue. This is a resolution approving the management firm that's going to assist us in putting together our urban forestry management plan consultant. Anna is here for any questions or thoughts, but we went through the traditional process of advertising it, publicly bidding it. We did receive 3 proposals. I might mention that this project is being funded through a grant that Anna was successful in submitting and awarding, getting to the city. So it is going to be paid through this through the DNR grant. But we did receive 3 proposals. Anna received 3 proposals. She did go through a comprehensive review of the 3 proposals and is recommending. Is it Equine Environmental Group, Anna?
It's EOCene.
EOC.
EOCene Environmental Group, yeah.
So that's the resolution before you. I don't know if you had any general comments, Anna. I might mention that the hope is, too, that we, if you recall, Resolution 22025, the Fitchburg Forest Management Plan, that was recently approved, and we're hoping that this group might be able to help us in maybe drafting our mission statement or our goals as to how we might want to put together that that program in the future. So we might be able to get some additional work from this group, hopefully.
Okay, and Anna.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and what I should have done, and I hope people will, and Anna can go through everything and we can ask our questions, but a motion to approve R45-25.
I'll move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Chris and Chris, motion and second. Okay, sorry, I had to take care of business there. So Anna, go ahead with anything you'd like to tell us. And then as we discuss things, if you hear that any of us are going off track, just interrupt and set us straight rather than politely waiting. Just burst right in, okay?
Okay, I can do that. Okay. Well, thank you for taking up this resolution tonight. Is basically a resolution to approve the hiring of the EOC Environmental Group to help us with a strategic urban forest management plan. As many of you know, this is something that's been on the list to do. It's been in the Park and Open Space Plan for quite a while, and we just have never had the staff capacity to really tackle it. And so I wrote a grant to the Wisconsin DNR to secure money to have a consultant help us with it. And it's a match grant, so the match is my staff time, so it won't. There's no cash outlay for the city. The grant will pay for the consultant's time, and the idea is just to have we're a growing city, and we've been planting a lot of trees. We've been planting almost 500 trees a year here for the last several years, and we really need to think strategically about how we're going to maintain those trees in the landscape and how we are going to continue to grow our urban forests moving forward. And that is the idea behind this grant and this project.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
I just have a comment that, Anna, thank you for providing that tab detailing as to how you did rate the different proposals. I found that very helpful. So I just want to say thank you for doing that. That was very nice to have.
Yeah, good. No problem at all. Yeah, I had, and that was in the RFP. Those lines were spelled out in the RFP, so people knew how they were getting ranked.
Go ahead, Alder Herbst.
Anna, is this just 1 year? They'll get this done in 1 year, because I assume your grant is 1 year.
Yes. Yep. The deliverable is due. I think I put in the RFP, and I've got a time frame that I'm working with the consultant on if this gets approved, that we want to draft by the October 28th Common Council meeting for approval by, I think it's that final approval by December. I want to say 16th, but that might be wrong. So we're hoping to have a solid draft by the 28th of October, and then have the final revisions and to council by that second meeting in December, or that first meeting in December. So yes, it's a year.
And Heidi, I see you have a question?
Well, two sort of questions / comments. So one, based on Anna's presentation and what we're seeing here in the packet, it would appear that she believes this is a service that we need. And two, the total service is going to be $25,000, all of which is covered by a grant. Are those both correct?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I see no reason to have a problem with this. I think it can only benefit us. I guess that's my comment.
Anna, what's the scope of this project? Are they going to look at a sampling of parks, or are they going to go into neighborhoods? Where exactly are they going to be reviewing our tree forest?
So it's kind of a higher level project. So it's going to be they're going to be looking at our tree inventory as a whole. So, and that's primarily for the urban service area, although we do have a tree inventory for Briarwood Park and Shopping Park and some of the other parks that are outside the urban service area. So it's primarily to look at kind of an overview of how we're handling tree maintenance and everything from tree planting and maintenance and removals to how we're, thinking about where we should be putting our resources moving forward in a really constructive way, so we get the most out of the investment that we've put into planting all the trees that we've been planting for the last 6-7 years or whatever it's been that we've been planting hundreds and hundreds of trees a year, if that makes sense. So it's a big overview of our entire urban forest, but focusing mostly on the urban service area.
Okay.
And I see that this already was reviewed by the Tree Advisory Committee.
Yep.
Yeah, they had a lot of good questions, I saw.
They did.
And a lot
they
of good,
did, absolutely.
A lot of good answers. So,
yeah.
Okay. We're set to vote? Okay. Those in favor of R5220, I'm sorry, my backup one, R45-25, the moving forward strategic urban forestry management plan consultant, say aye.
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 None opposed? Any opposed? None. Okay, that motion is passed. Anna, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, 5B, before we get rolling on it, we have a citizen who has some comments. So Patrick Cheney, 5211 Kitty Crest, comments, wishes to speak and answer questions if...
Can you put up the information on the tree list?
What are you looking for, PC?
The pages in the packet for the tree list?
The list of the actual trees? Is that what you're asking for?
I don't know what he's asking. Is it this one right here?
No.
Yeah, starts with
45?
page 45.
Is that what you're after, Patrick?
No.
No?
The one that has where they're going to be planted.
Where they're going to be planted. This one?
Yeah. Okay, just some comments on the list right here. For clarification, the first one listed there, Aurora Apartments, there is no such place. It is the Addison Apartments in the North Park development at that corner. And then on the next page, Fahey Fields is not spelled that way. Now, there are usually some other comments that are in recommendations and background and such like this that I did not find in here that I've seen in the past. One would be that SRB is the one being chosen for this right here, and there's usually some background and history in this case SRB I believe has been used in the past, possibly last year, but I know they've been used in recent years, and there's usually a line in here that says they've been a good vendor in the past. There's also a point of that the trees may have a 1-year warranty, and I didn't find either of those comments in any of the supporting documentation. Now, different thing I want to talk about related to tree purchases is for the Sunnyside Dog Park. Sunnyside had a sort of a woods in there that was cleared out, and that was unfortunate because the dogs like hunting around in there, and now they don't have that. But Sunnyside Dog Park definitely needs a windbreak on the west side. And I know there's room for it. I've looked it over carefully. So I want to make a recommendation. Between the west fence of the Sunnyside Dog Park and the east side of Fish Hatchery, there's enough grass lawn space in there where what I would like to see is 2 rows of evergreen pine trees. And what I would like to see is a rather thick row of white pines. They grow fast. Just off of Fish Hatchery Road, back a ways from the road, and they grow fast, so put a line of them along there, as thick as could be, and then really close to the fence, the west fence of Sunnyside Dog Park, put a row just a few feet outside of that west fence that would be arborvitaes, and I've seen where they can grow pretty tall, and that would be a nice, really solid windbreak along there. In the winter, and really any time when it's cool and there's wind, the wind comes tearing across there from a big open field on the west side of Fish Hatchery. There's nothing to stop the wind. And throughout the winter, and any time that it's cool, it's pretty miserable in Sunnyside Dog Park. Used to have little woods there that was a little bit of screening. Now that's gone. So this would help a lot for windbreak there. And I know in the past anyway that pine trees could be years ago purchased for $1 a piece. And arborvitaes can be bought at discount. So that's what I would like to see.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that's it for citizen comment there. So a motion to approve R 5225, the spring tree planting plan.
I'll move approval.
Okay, Alder Herbst, and a
I'll
second.
second it.
Okay. Scott?
Yes, this is our spring tree planting. There's a total of 252 trees that we're proposing to be planted. We did go through the public bidding process with the State Journal and Quest. We did receive 6 proposals, with the lowest proposal coming from SRB Trees for a price of $59,220. And as Patrick noted, SRB has provided this same service for us in the past, and we're satisfied with their work. I might say that the 252 is a combination of development trees that go into developments, street trees, and then I believe a couple park trees. So.
Okay, and Anna, I see, is here again to answer additional questions, should we have them. Is there anything you'd like to tell us at the get-go, Anna?
Just that, the majority of these trees this spring are new developments and ash replacements. We may, if we are able to, we may be able to do a second ash replacement planting this spring, but we'll do a big park planting this fall like we did last fall as well. So it's not a one-shot deal for the trees getting planted, in Fitchburg for the year. We'll be putting forward additional planting plans, as things move forward. We just get the best price if we kind of bundle things around that 250 tree number, and you can see, this price is actually $5 cheaper per tree than we got last year. So I kind of wanted just to take it and run.
Good idea. Any questions, anybody? A question from the audience about warranty. I think it was at Tree Advisory, you said it was a year, Anna?
Yep, and that's all in the contract. That was in the contract, and that's in the packet. It's all there.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? All right, those in favor of R 5225, the spring tree planting plan, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Your plan is approved, Anna.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming to the meeting.
Of course.
Okay, 5C is the Quarry Ridge Recreation Area Trails update. And Michael Schrader and Matt Yerke are here representing the group. There's also I did this a little backwards. We have other citizens here who want to speak in favor, or speak. I think everyone who wants to speak is speaking in favor. Let me look. I got to anyone who wants to speak, there's, 2 more microphones, and I've just got to go through. There's Emily Green. Go right ahead. We try to keep things at around 3 minutes.
I'm part of their presentation, I guess.
Okay.
If that's okay.
All right. Okay. So all the people who registered are all for the next portion of it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Well, we can go to Michael and Matt, who can provide, and what we've done before in the past is ask the corp group to come in periodically to provide an update at the work that they're doing at Quarry Ridge, and I just publicly thank the group. It's unbelievable that the work that they do for us out at the park, and to be honest, I don't really hear many concerns. It's all positive, and we have a good working relationship, and we certainly appreciate the support of the Corp group and their volunteers and all of that kind of stuff. So I'll kick it to Mike and Matt and let them. I'll kind of roll through this as you'd like me to. You guys just kind of cue me on the presentation.
Sure. Okay. So first of all, just thank you very much for letting us come and present our ideas here. And the first part of this is just to give you an update of what's happening at Quarry Ridge.
Is the green light on there for the mic?
Yeah.
You got to get a little bit closer.
Oh. Okay.
I know you're a soft speaker.
Yeah. Sorry, first time at a situation like this too. So, no, it's fine. I just want to say thank you for allowing us to be here to present our idea for Quarry Ridge and to hear the update. So the first thing is just the update of what's going on with Quarry Ridge Mountain Bike Trail. So, Scott. So I'm Mike Schrader. I've been involved in biking, BMX racing, building trails since 1981. It's been a long time. I've got lots of experience, lots of time in the woods with a shovel. And I've taken over Quarry Ridge as the trail steward, kind of the liaison between Fitchburg and the local mountain bike group, which I'll mention in a minute. And with COVID, I was thinking, I can't remember how long I've been doing this. It screwed up my whole frame of time. So I'm thinking about 8 years now I've done this. So it's been a long time, and it's been a great relationship with Scott and working with Fitchburg. And he doesn't have an official title, but this is my main associate, Matt Yerke, and he's probably been involved in biking for 20 years as well, and he helps me out with all the major projects out there. And as you can see by the pictures, that's just us leading groups of volunteers getting some projects done out in the woods. Next slide, Scott. And so you've probably heard the word CORP, or Capital Off-Road Pathfinders. That's the local advocacy group for all the area. They kind of oversee all the trails, and we fall into that. We're one of the trails, but each trail system has its own trail steward or land that works with the land manager, and so that's my position. So I work with Corp a little bit, but Fitchburg's been so great that we haven't needed their assistance very much. We just kind of do our own thing. Next, Scott. And these are just all the trails in the Madison area. They continue to grow. There's more and more trails as we speak. They're working on stuff in Dodgeville, Baraboo, something up by Devil's Lake. They're trying to get more trails in on the east side as well. So as you can see, there's a lot. We have a great reporting system of when they're open, when they're closed. If it's raining, they're going to be closed. If it's muddy, freeze thaw. If they're packed snow conditions, if they're open. So all the trails have a great system. And Corp manages that. They oversee the website and everything for all the trails. Marketing and social media, things like that. Next, Scott. And so this is us. This is our current trail map. We've pretty much used all the land that we have except for the proposed project for tonight. We don't really want to add any more trails. We like the feeling of being out in the woods and not seeing your neighbor as you ride by 5 feet away. So we try to have a general rule of try to keep things 40 feet apart. Obviously, when there's no leaves on the tree, you're going to see all the trails. But in the summer, it's pretty effective. You kind of feel like you're out in the woods. So that's our current map. And so we've really focused on getting all really good signage. We have professional maps and signs. Everything's well marked. We have the ski system now with the green, the blue, the black. All trails are labeled. If a trail splits for an expert section, that's labeled to clearly identify that's a more challenging section. A few years back, we had a family donate one of those repair stands. So that's new to our trail. That's out there now, which is great. And the tire pump wasn't working, and last year a guy just volunteered to come and get it. So he came, unmounted it, took it home, ordered the parts, paid for it himself, brought it back and reinstalled it. So we've got a lot of great people that'll just show up and help us with projects. And the city of Fitchburg worked with, I'm not sure who, but they had a GPS video trail map, and they put these rescue location markers on there, and they're all throughout the park. So EMTs and the fire department, they'll come and they'll practice this. And so they have our trail map. They also have a trail map with these locations on there. So if you're injured or you're like number 15, they can look at their map and they can easily come and find you. So unfortunately, accidents do happen, but this has been a great system, and I really enjoy that. So that's been a great update. And then a lot of it now, since the park is full, is just general maintenance. We spend a lot of time fixing erosion, drainage. We want to make sure the trails can be open as much as possible. We don't want erosion happening. We want things to be dry. So that upper left, you can see we had a situation at the bottom of the hill that was always muddy. So we were able to re-slope the ground, dig out some, elevate the trail, put some rocks in there so to get that to dry out. In the top right, we try to utilize the landscape, bank turns, allow the water to flow naturally, not create problems. And the bottom one just shows, like if there's a natural water course, we can identify that and just put some flat rocks in there, let the water run across there without damaging the trail. So we spent a lot of effort with that. Next slide. And so last year we had the idea to put in a beginner loop. A lot of people want to try out mountain biking. They don't want to have to go into the whole trail system and ride a 3-mile loop and get in over their heads. So we put in a 1/4-mile loop that has some simple features that people can practice on. I saw a woman that was a mountain biker who actually brought her husband out, and they were out there practicing, and he was trying it out. Matt ran into a father that had a couple kids, and he could stand in the field and he could watch his kids the whole time. They weren't like getting way ahead of him in the woods or something, so that was really great. So we've got a few more plans this year to add some bigger rocks and a couple bigger logs to practice getting over. But not only for beginners, but just people to practice their skills on some things. And it's a great warm-up loop before you get into the woods, so that's been really successful. Next slide. And volunteers are a big part of this. So our volunteer workday in the spring has been trending upward. Last year, I put 115 people showed up. Matt thinks it was closer to 140. It's just amazing the number of people that will show up to help us. And so as you can see in the middle picture, that was us putting in that beginner loop last year. And so many, moms, women, young women. We had people show up that weren't even mountain bikers. They just saw that we were having a work day. They walked their dog and enjoyed the park and just came and showed up and helped. And then the other ones are just different pictures of groups of people all throughout the park doing stuff. We had teams everywhere. So me personally, I have to prepare for that. So I have to get like 6 or 7 small group leaders in place because I can't manage all these people. So I get leaders in place like Matt and BJ. They'll come and lead a group of 10 or 15 people, and I have to pre-organize the list of projects that's going to be done. And so then I can send those people out, and then I kind of go around and manage it. So
I want to add that beginner loop went in a single day during that one work day. Everyone involved in the trail was kind of surprised that we were able to put in an entire beginner loop in one day, all volunteer work too.
Yeah. And just that picture on the left is just kind of a good example of a team of, go back down, Scott. So yeah, that picture on the left, there's 2 older guys, probably in their 60s in the back. There's a dad who brought his little girl. There's younger kids, there's middle-aged people. So it's just, people are happy. They get to know each other, they talk, it really kind of forms that community. And then we have a small budget with Fitchburg, and we've been able to rent a mini excavator. And so that has been a huge help to be able to just move dirt, fix drainage. Like that first slide where that wet area was, to use the mini X to come in there and dig out all that dirt and redo the trail. So it's been super helpful. So I think we're at $2,500, Scott. And so I usually don't use all that budget. We don't really need that, but I think last year I actually used up the whole budget. But and so, yeah, I try to, but I just run out of projects. So I do have it rented for a 2-day rental coming up. But we have a guy, Jeff, that was the former trail steward, who's almost a professional operator. And so if I have a machine, he loves to play on it. So I'll invite him to come out. And so he helps me, he trains me. I'm getting better at it. But to have Jeff run the machine has been super helpful to be just efficient with the time and the money spent on that rental. So if anyone's interested in seeing what we're all about, this is our work day. As you can see, there's a lot of repairs. Without the snowpack this winter and just the freeze thaw and the rain, the trail, it was really hard on the trails with erosion, people riding in the mud, and then it froze and it rained, and it just, so a lot of the work is just building stuff back up, repairing it, fixing erosion. So that's mostly it. And a few other small projects. So if you're interested, come on out. We'll be there all morning. Scott, next slide. And so Emily's going to talk more about the Nike kids, but these are the high school mountain bike kids, which has just exploded. And so they support us by sending out kids to volunteer, and that's part of their program. And so anywhere from 50 to 90 kids will show up. I mean, it's a little overwhelming to manage that. We run out of tools, but it says, okay, move these rocks. They can just do that with their hands, or you carry the bucket of dirt and another kid will fill it. And so that's just been a huge support to help us, and that's usually early September. They come out every year. Next slide. And the thing about this park, it's used all year. It's not just like a summer activity. When the ground is frozen, you can come out and ride the trails. People ride at night. Snow, I've got a guy who comes out and he grooms the trails. He packs it in with a machine he built. And so the fat bikes, you've probably seen the fat bikes with the big tires. So this park is pretty much used all year. There's very few times it's not open. It's closed right now because of the freeze, the ground thawing out from winter and all the rain. But it's pretty much utilized all year. So it's good. And they're busy. These pictures were all taken on different days. People are parking on the road. People are parking in the grass. I'm not saying this happens every time, but busy weekends, evenings, when the Nike kids are practicing, it's full. And I measured some of the spaces, and I looked at the Fitchburg code for this, and some of the spaces aren't up to code. And with a bike rack sticking off the back, it really feels narrow down the middle. People can't even get out. They have to just drive through the grass to get to the road. So we'll talk about the parking in our next presentation as well a little bit. But but it's extremely popular. And so just a quick recap, it's one of the favorite in the Madison area. Our goal is to have features here. Well, a lot of people travel for mountain biking, and so we try to have features that they're going to experience at other places. And so it's just become a favorite with the jumps, the drops, the steep technical trails, the fast trails, the easy trails. There's different obstacles to get over. And it really creates a community. I mean, I met Matt through biking, and we were friends like immediately. I've got friends growing up when I did biking that I'm still friends with. So it's just a great way to connect with people. I feel it's a safe place. Some of it looks extreme, but as you work your way up, it's a fairly safe environment to try it out. I've met people that come from Milwaukee, Chicago, Dubuque, Eau Claire. People have heard about Quarry Ridge. It's really, really gotten a name in social media. Kids posting pictures, it's just drawing people in. Just our Facebook page, and a lot of people don't have Facebook, but that's 1,500 people. And then the Corp group has over 5,000, or I'm sorry, 4,000. And that's not even including people that are probably interested to know about it that aren't even on Facebook. Their Instagram has over 2,000 people right now. And people are going to spend money at the restaurants. I've seen people come to our parking lot, ride, and go up to Hy-Vee and get snacks and come back down and then ride more in the afternoon. So it's happening. People are going to the restaurants, getting snacks, probably going to the gas station if they've come from Milwaukee. I met a guy from Chicago. He would come up once a month, spend the night at the hotel, just to ride bikes in the Madison area, but Quarry Ridge was his favorite. So we are seeing that. Next, Scott. And so that's just a quick update of what's happening at Quarry Ridge over these past probably 5 years. Any questions?
Any questions?
Just a comment. I have not been there yet. We're relatively new. And my kiddo just got a new mountain bike, so top of the list. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to check it out.
Check it out. All right. And so our next presentation is for a whole other idea that we have for this park that we'd really like to get approval on, or at least present you our ideas or thoughts. So, Scott? Actually, Matt's going to start this next one.
Do you have it? Do you have it, Scott? Uh-oh. Yeah.
Isn't that it?
Well, there was a whole presentation about the beginner, and I think you've seen that presentation before with the beginner loops.
I had emailed that to you, Scott.
You did, Mike. I didn't. And actually, can I somehow get into my files, Scott?
Not unless you can email it to yourself.
How would I be able to do that?
Can you get into your iDrive?
Right here? Oh yeah, here I can. iDrive, Parks.
Now I'm understanding the total list of people here to speak
I think so.
that are part of this second presentation.
Right, so Matt and I are going to do most of the second one, and Emily's going to speak to a couple specific slides for that.
Okay.
Oh, mercy.
And did you have comments you want to make?
I'm going
Just registering support.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not part of the presentation. But
Okay.
I'm going to point them out towards the end.
Got it. Yeah. Stand up, take a bow, all that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You said you emailed it to me?
Yeah. I don't see it there, Scott.
Can I get into my email?
I can email it again too, Scott.
It's not there, huh?
It is 14 megabytes. So.
Boy, I messed up.
Do you have it, Matt?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Just send it to me.
Yeah. This is the update. Just can't, I can't, over here, what's this? Oh, emails. Yeah, if you can email it to me quick.
Okay. It's a big file, so.
Well, here we go.
There it is, the top one, Scott. Yeah. There you go.
Look at that.
We got it.
Oh, my God.
All right.
Thank God. I'm
Cool.
sweating.
So I take it this group hasn't seen this presentation then yet? Oh, wow. Okay. It's all brand new then.
Well, I spoke to the group about what we were looking to do.
Okay.
So go ahead.
My name's Matt Yerke, just longtime mountain biker, worked with Mike, like he said. And this presentation is for a proposal to expand Quarry Ridge and what people are able to do and learn out there. So yeah, go ahead and get into it, Scott. So what we're proposing is what we're calling a progressive learning area. A lot of people call these bike parks, but we wanted to reframe this as a progressive area because one of the main reasons that people ride mountain bikes is they want to learn how to ride mountain bikes better. And one of the main reasons Quarry Ridge is as popular as it is because it allows riders to progress. But I would say that Quarry Ridge has some really easy beginner trails, and then the next jump is kind of hard to go to from those really easy beginner trails to the next level. And this proposal is to help us get more riders to that next level. So these are commonly known as bike parks. They're usually in smaller areas with shorter trails that are feature heavy and allow riders to repeat laps and build their skills in a really predetermined fashion by the trail builders. So these will be marked with your ski trail markings like a green circle, blue square, black diamond, that sort of thing. You can go to the next slide, Scott. So why this? I said it earlier, but the main thing that a lot of people like to do with their mountain bike is learn how to get better at mountain biking. It helps them build their skills, build confidence, get more fit, spend times outside, and then inevitably a lot of those people end up joining us on volunteer work days, and then you end up getting a community. It really can all start from these small areas where you see someone do something and say, I think I can do that, and then you move on to the next thing and really progress and learn how to do something new. I think this really helps kids and adults learn who they are and what they can do in the world beyond bikes. I have a Trek shirt on. It's because I'm an engineer at Trek. I design mountain bikes for a living. But it all started riding bikes with people like Mike and BJ and Kristen and Emily. So I think it can help define a career even, but certainly friendships and community. You can go to the next slide, Scott.
So we just want to share some other examples. These things are popping up all over the country. Sometimes they look pretty aggressive when you first look at it, but there are easier lines that you work your way up to. It's not like if you're going to try pole vaulting, someone gives you the pole and the bar's at 10 feet, you're not going to just go out and do that. You're going to have to practice and practice, figure out how your techniques. And so with bikes, this is a place to do that. And so that one on the left, Valmont Bike Park, that was one of the first ones that I can remember going in the country. And that's actually a huge complex in Boulder. And Matt and I actually specifically drove to Colorado to ride there. We planned to ride at other places, but that was on our list to go there. I mean, that was like how groundbreaking it was at the time. And now they're just everywhere. So the Big Marsh, that's just way south of Chicago. That one popped up. It's got the next one. This one's in Cleveland. I have family here, and I've ridden here several times. I always take my bike now when I go visit family because this is there. So the city invested in this. There's also, we'll talk about pump tracks, the paved pump tracks. There's 2 of those at this park, plus smaller jumps, paved trails for kids with those Strider bikes. And then these jumps with the wooden lips. So there's a medium line and then the bigger line. And it was super busy when I've been there. It's super fun. The city has really put a lot into that. They actually paved everything, so there's no dirt between the jumps. It's all paved, so there's zero maintenance. It's all grass. It's landscaped. It's meticulously maintained. Next slide. Here's another one. This popped up in Indiana, Terre Haute, Indiana, and they've got a pump track there as well as a lot of mountain bike trails in the woods. That's a newer one. There's ones, I can list examples in lots of states. Boise Bike Park. There's one in New Hampshire. There's one in Connecticut. They're all over. There's a lot. It's more than trails in the woods. I can't emphasize this enough. It really forms that community. It's a safe place. Like when I grew up doing BMX, I didn't like baseball or football. I mean, a lot of kids, they don't have that outlet. And for me to go out in the woods with my brother, build trails, encourage each other, see how far you can jump, ride a bike and do that. But we're proposing a safe way. It was a little sketchy back in the mid 80s, but it creates that community. And so I wanted to share this picture too. On the right, I was out there one Sunday afternoon, and there's 6 moms that just met up to ride bikes. I thought, how cool is that? It's not just 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds out in the woods. And then the bottom right picture, I was on a lunch ride, and these women were probably 50 or 60, and they met up. I overheard them talking. They met up to just ride bikes and hang out and get some fresh air. That was in the fall, just this past year. Again, it'll draw people in. If we have a safe place, it's going to reduce injuries. During COVID, we had a lot of injuries at Quarry Ridge because people wanted to get out and they were way in over their head trying all these features that they had no business being on. But if we have a place where people can learn, and like Matt was saying, have these laps where you can do it over and over again, that's really going to be great. It's going to help all the mountain bikers in the area be safer, not just people here in Fitchburg. So again, back up. People are going to spend money. They're going to come to Fitchburg. If we get something like this built here, it's really going to draw people in. I've driven to half an hour north of Milwaukee, the Heritage State Park in Slinger that has a bike park like this. I go there twice a year. That's an hour and a half commitment just one way. And I'll spend money at the quick trip on the way out, probably need gas or get some snacks. So I really feel Fitchburg will draw people in from at least an hour away and farther. So next, Scott. And then Emily Green, she's involved with NICA, and she's going to talk about that.
I'm just going to give you a little bit of a color of some of the users here. So I'm with NICA, and I'm a volunteer coach. NICA is the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, which is a mouthful. And I happen to work for NICA as national as well. So we're a national organization, 32 leagues nationwide, engaging 25,000 kids. We've got about 14,000 volunteer coaches. And Wisconsin is one of our bigger leagues. And I got involved initially. This will be my 6th year coaching, because I got 2 boys, and neither of whom has been, Mike, you mentioned, they're just not really stick and ball sports. They just never have been. And we're really struggling, honestly, when they progressed into middle school and high school, to find their place a little bit. And we discovered the NICA team. That's how I found it as a parent. And NICA is a youth development organization, so there's no bench, no tryouts. Every kid rides, and we have both competition for kids who want to compete and then non-competitive programming that just teaches skills and gets kids off screens, outside, riding with friends, having fun on the trail. And it's been, I see it over and over again as a coach, it's been really transformative for a lot of the kids involved, especially those who don't really find their standard fit in youth sports. So because of that, the programming works. You get kids, again, outside, riding with friends, and you get their parents involved. It's been popular. It's exploded. So the local team started 10 years ago, in 2014, with 10 kids. Now we had to split into 4 teams to split up the practice times. We have 212 riders, 125 volunteer coaches, and the coach training that you go through to become a coach is like nothing, no other sport I've been involved with. It's crazy. 78% are parents. Many of them, like me, were new to biking and got involved because their kid wanted to ride. 35% of both our athletes and our coaches are women, or girls. And as Mike said, we put in over 500 volunteer service hours last year, because service, giving back to the community in which we ride, is it's important. It's one of our core values. So we are, I'm basically, and I'm now also, I guess, president of the board of those. Our teams have gotten big enough, we had to actually start a 501c3 just to manage it. So I lead that as a volunteer. And here supporting this, because for a lot of the reasons Mike said, it is a progressive learning area. So we're cross-country mountain biking. We don't actually teach kids to jump. We don't, we're super safety conscious. We would absolutely take advantage of and need to help spread out on the system. Quarry Ridge is incredibly important to us. and would use a area like this to teach key skills that will help them with bike body separation and just learn to manage their bikes safely and to progress safely elsewhere in the system. Because, kids are going to be kids, and when they're out of our practices, they're going to go off and huck off the big jumps. And, so that's why we're here supporting it as NICA, even though it's just, I think, a really key part of progression. So anyway, that's why I'm here. Happy to answer questions about NICA and who we are, but it's just, we've seen an explosion of both parents and kids in this sport, and I think it's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
School has a team now. It's not just like West or like we've got Verona Memorial West. I mean, it's everywhere. Okay, next, Scott. Oh,
skip that. I already spoke to that.
We already talked. So the location in the park. So this is where we would like to put it. And Scott, the next slide, real quick. Here's a little bit closer at a Google aerial map. You can see that Fitchrona Road is the vertical one, the parking lot there. This would just be a great location because if parents are dropping kids off to practice here, people that can't drive, then it's close to the parking lot. It's close to the bathroom. It's close to the drinking fountain. It's close to the picnic shelter. I could imagine a mom dropping kids off, kids go and ride, mom sits at the picnic table, does something, and can use the restroom. If we need to get supplies dropped off, there's an older access road. You can kind of see it leading in and out of that yellowish area. The city, I believe, was running dump trucks through there. There was a existing dirt source in a pile there. So there's access for supplies easily, and you can also drive down the bike path. It's just convenient to the parking lot. It doesn't interfere with the neighborhood at all. It's private. It doesn't interfere with the other mountain bike trails. It's its own separate entity, but it's within the park as well. Sometimes in the summer when it's super dry, you do need a little bit of water to fix something, and so you could easily run over to that pond and get a bucket of water and make some wet dirt and patch something if you needed to. So that's really why we want it there. We just think that's the ideal spot. Scott had some, I think, environmental engineers go out and look at that to see if there would be a problem with water runoff or anything, and we got the green light for that zone. Next slide, Scott. So these are some pictures I took just a few weeks ago. It's just an open field, pretty much invasive species. We don't really plan on cutting any of the trees down. We do want the shade, so we would work around some of those aspen trees there, but a lot of honeysuckle, buckthorn, just pretty much garbage out there that can be clear cut that we don't want. And so I put, in that left slide, there's a pile of dirt, and that's going to be key to our plan, so I just wanted to point that out. So the next slide, Scott. And so this would be the plan. So where that pile of dirt is would be the starting mound. A lot of these places you need a little bit higher elevation to get your momentum right away, and so you would start up on this pile. It needs some work, but there's a great start there. And then we would have a small jump line, a medium jump line, and then go to the bigger jumps, and then the bigger jumps. They're the extra large jumps. And there's like 300, 350 feet down. It slopes slightly downhill, so it would be perfect for drainage, but we would work all that out. There'd be one return trail. We'd like to have it there because you can cheer your friends on as you're watching them come down through the jumps and easily get back to the start line. And as Matt mentioned, you can just lap it over and over and over again. Like people that practice skateboarding or other sport, kids with soccer balls, you just practice over and over again, and this would be the place where they could just do that. So instead of, sometimes people think about, well, let's just start with the small jump line. Well, by just putting a row of small jumps in, it's not going to draw anybody in. You're going to ride that and be bored. Even going to the medium jumps, you're going to ride those couple and you're kind of going to be bored. There's no progression at that point. It's like when you have a whole piece of ground and you want to put it in pickleball courts and you literally put it in one pickleball court and no fence. It's just, that's just not going to work. You really need to kind of, I feel, this is me personally, I think Matt would agree. You really need to develop quite a bit of this in order to be effective right away. You need that progression. I think, I could imagine kids spending all day there, starting with the small jumps, doing the medium. Okay, I'm going to try the big ones, then spending the day there. Next slide, Scott. And so Matt's going to talk about our design.
Yeah, so not only is Mike a trail steward, he's also a great artist. So he created the next couple of images that you see. So here you can see more of a 3D representation of what we're aiming to create. Like Mike said, there's going to be the start mount, which will have a flat area, and those are always really well attended by users because you kind of congregate up there and talk with your buddies and things like that. So we'd want that to be a fairly large, flat area to kind of gather and hang out and kind of prep and talk about what you're going to do next. But then you can see the progression here. So the bottom line here is the small jumps. Certainly be all rollable. Same with the medium, same with the large, be mostly rollable. The XL may not be all rollable, but we'll work with our trail builder to figure that out. But the idea is that a given rider, if he or she wants to start on the small line and only do that, great. But if that person wants to progress up to the additional lines, these will all be built in a very similar way so that that person can progress through them. Like, for example, if I was only skilled enough to go through the medium line, I would know once I had that down every single time, no problem, I'd probably be prepared to move on to the large line, certainly taking them one at a time. You can go to the next slide, Scott.
And real quick, when you see all the jumps, you don't have to do every single one. Like if you don't feel comfortable, you can stop or peel off the trail. So you can try one to get a sense for it, and then just stop. It's not like you're forced into having to do every single one.
Mm-hmm. So some more of our design. The bigger image that you see here is a drone photo that Mike sketched over the top of. You can see it. We've actually gone out there with a long tape measure and measured everything out. So the approximate 300 foot length is actually measured. And then you can see that upper left image. That's that pile of dirt that Mike has already talked about. That field has a lot of tire tracks going through it. We think it's from dump trucks going in and out of there. They're like really deep ruts already. So we kind of hypothesized that pile of dirt was just used as storage before, but we want to turn this sort of not very useful field to many people into a really useful, well-attended place. So we would just be building onto that existing pile of dirt to create our start mound. We could use any kind of fill for that, and then create that flat area, and then move on and create the jump lines with all the progression after that. You can go to the next slide, Scott. So a little bit more about our design. We're constantly brainstorming, Mike and I, about how to get this done because we really think the community needs it, and it would be a good draw to the trails. So one idea would be to start with the less expensive way to do it, which would be that image on the left where it's just all dirt. So basically, the resources and materials that we need to build a line are there already, but eventually what we would like to move on to is something with a wooden takeoff ramp or lip, like you see on the right there, because the maintenance is so much less. All these mountain bike trails take a lot of maintenance, and the worst offenders are jumps, and the worst offenders are jumps in an open field, and that's what we want to do. We would be in charge of all the maintenance on this, but if we would move to something like that image on the right, it would just help us have to do less of it. So yeah, that's it. You can go on, Scott. So a couple of options here on how to create this. Just laying these out, not saying these are the only options, but just to give you guys an idea. So option A is a corp volunteer built trail. So this is how the majority of trails at Quarry Ridge and around the Madison area have been built. They're 100% volunteer built. People like Mike and myself will take vacation days to actually go build trails and really break our backs. But it's really fun and rewarding. We would start that like we do any other trail, where we would start with the return trail because everybody's going to be using that. We would flag that, get an idea of how much work that would take. Then we would flag each feature line in the start mound. So if we were going to go with this option, what we would need from you guys is just an approval to build. And then that starting mound really needs some fill dirt. and we think we would need that from an outside source. Scott has a line on some fill dirt potentially, so maybe he could talk about that. But then we would also need a machine rental. Option B, which I think is actually probably the most attractive to Mike and I, would be a hybrid approach between the volunteer organization of Corp and a professional trail builder. So I would say what a lot of people call their favorite trail at Quarry Ridge, Pork Chop, which is one of the newer ones, it was built this way. So a bunch of us went through, flagged it, cleared a lot of the brush away, and then a very well-known professional trail builder volunteered his time to help us finish that trail off, and it's really fun. Everybody knows Pork Chop. It's a really fun trail. The steps here would be really similar. We'd probably get started with volunteer work, flagging things, marking things out. But again, we would need approval to build, some fill dirt, and then maybe some money for the professional trail builder to come in. And then option C, which is definitely the least amount of work for us, is to bring a professional builder in and have that group come through and do it themselves. I've had a couple of close friends come in, provided this presentation to a couple of close friends, and they've provided estimates. Initially, they were lower than what you see here, but they have a tendency to swell up, and nobody's actually been on site to take a look at it. So this is our estimate, would be $100,000 to $150,000. Go to the next slide, Scott.
Before you move on, can you give us a timeline of how long each option might take?
Great question. So option A, I would say, would be the longest amount of time. What would you say, Mike, for us to go in and do that?
It would probably go into next year. It would go into next year because we would have to get pretty much do everything. We'd have to get all the dirt, and if we did want to do wood, we'd have to get all those built. But I think we would start with dirt, and Scott said it was okay to share this, but the new police station is looking for a park to get rid of dirt, and that email came in when we were literally meeting with Scott a month ago about this meeting, and that would be September. So that would be ideal, is to just have them truck a lot of their dirt over there for us, which would be a huge time saver. But yet, I mean, to do all this by hand is just going to be a lot of work. It's definitely going to go into next year. Whereas the professional hybrid approach, I mean, it could be done by the end of this year.
It was meant to be, Michael. It was meant to be.
I know, it was pretty humble. I still think about that like every day. But
yeah. So option B would be, let's say that's a couple of months, and then option C, a close friend of mine, Chad Landowski, owns a professional trail building company, and he estimated that building the whole park would take a month once he got on site and had material there. So,
Thank you.
Any other thoughts, questions? Thanks, you guys. Sorry for the technical blunder, but we got there.
No problem. You can skip the next slide too, Scott. Yeah, skip that one.
This one or this one?
Yeah, that's on the laptop. We can go. Yeah.
Okay. So again, I just want to say they're extremely popular. And I just wanted to point out that picture in the middle. That's the Cliff Bike Park in Cleveland. So I was there for Thanksgiving. So that's a cold November day, and I had to wait in line to hit the jumps. So and people are out there, and they were all ages. It's not just, like I mentioned, young 30-year-olds or 20-year-olds. So, and you can see by those other pictures, there's just lots of people out there riding bikes. Scott, next slide. And a lot of people are like, well, what's the difference with a pump track? A pump track, you're really not going to learn to get off the ground as much. It's great for bike handling skills, learning how to use your weight over things, going around a bank corner. There are things you can jump, but it's more of an advanced move to jump from one mountain to the other, and to try that on pavement is a little sketchy. So it's a great combination with our progressive learning area to learn how to have those jumping skills, and then go back to the pump track and try some of the jumps there as well. And I end up riding jumps, mountain bike trails in the pump track all year, just, all the different options. So it's a great pairing with what we already have here in Fitchburg with the Aldo Leopold pump track, and it's just down the bike trail. So it's just not the same to learn to really progress your skills on a bike. Because it's just going around in a circle on pavement, but you can learn to get faster, but you're not going to progress that much. Next slide, Scott. Again, the parking lot, and so this was part 2 of our proposal. As you can see, especially that top center picture, there was like 30 cars just on the road, and it's just not safe. People are trying to get out of the car, cars are whizzing by. Like I said, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. Like when we open the trails up here in probably another week, I mean, it's going to look like that out there. In our spring work day on the April 19th, it's going to look like that. I'm not asking for 200 parking spaces, but I think it needs to be improved. And so Scott, that next picture. And so this is what I would propose. You guys put in the handicap or the accessible parking, which was fantastic. We need that, but that took up 4 spaces right out of the chute. And so on that right part there where the text is, there's just like a little bit of a wet area. I feel like if that was filled in and the center aisle was wide and you can add a whole row of parking there, and then where the dumpsters are down at the end, those can easily be pushed back to allow access to that road that's already there. And then that could all be parking in there. Pavement would be great, but if we had a nice crushed gravel lot just to get cars off the street would be fantastic. And then I put that little path in there because that's what people are going to do. They're going to find the shortest way to get somewhere and just walk. And it's wet in there, but it'd be great if we could get a little path, a little connector. And I could see if a mom drops off their kid, they're not going to walk all the way around through the parking lot and then back up the bike trail, whereas they could just take that little shortcut across there. So, and you can see the proposed learning area up on the upper right. So it would be easy to get from the parking lot to there as well. So that's just and so I don't know if we have to do phase 2, but phase 1. And I'm not sure if the numbers are correct because of the accessible parking. I think the current spaces might be down to 26. So we would love to see our parking lot worked on at some point.
And I did include when we get to the CIP, there is a CIP project proposed for the parking lot expansion at Quarry Ridge. So.
And if the bike park does happen, I really feel like we're going to have more and more traffic in and out of that parking lot all the time. Scott, next slide. So just a quick recap. We've already been over this. It's extremely popular in the Madison area. Great community and friendships. Draw people in. There's a ton of followers just on Facebook alone. People are going to spend money. They're already doing that. People will drive from pretty far away. There's a bike park in Wausau. I know a lot of people that drive up there. I've got a good friend in Janesville. He drives up here all the time to ride either the pump track or Quarry Ridge or out to Camrock. And all the maintenance, it costs very little for the park. I mean, we do all the maintenance. I mean, I've already been out there probably 10 hours in the past week just fixing stuff with a shovel. My back tells me to stop, but I really enjoy being outside in the woods doing that. So you get a lot of free work from all of our volunteers. Next slide, Scott. And then just some other facts. The parking lot is consistently full. It's used all the time. I mean, every time you drive by there, there's somebody there. Whether we do have dog walkers, we have hikers, we have people that use the Military Ridge Trail, and they'll park there to access it. There's always cars in that parking lot. We had a huge volunteer work day last spring, and I'm expecting the same for this year. This year is called Love Your Trails Day. So SARS, they have trails behind their property as well as the Seminole Trails. All 3 of us are the same day, and there's a big party at SARS that evening. So I can imagine everybody's going to come out, and it's going to be a big day. Again, it's going to cost very little for the parks for us to maintain this. And so BJ and his wife, Kristen, they literally moved into the neighborhood because the trails were there. And there's several other families that, Quarry Ridge, there's housing, let's move. And they have literally moved there. And almost all those kids in the neighborhood ride bikes, and they can attest to that. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my name is Kristen Riching. I live at 2709 Turnstone Circle. And yeah, we definitely moved to that neighborhood specifically because of these trails. It's where I learned to ride. And yeah, I absolutely love the trails there. So we're avid mountain bikers, huge supporters of Corp. We're members of Corp, volunteers, participated in those big work days. We're also former NICA coaches as well. So we have connection to the team. And worked with a lot of the students. We see a lot of the student riders there, every day during the summer. I love mountain biking because it is such an inclusive sport. I think, as you mentioned, a lot of families, young kids and parents alike, enjoy mountain biking. And when I was a coach, I had the opportunity to help organize sort of an inclusive event to introduce mountain biking to young girls and women. And I think we've seen a lot of that pan out in the enrollment on the team. There are lots more girls and women on the teams now, which I think is fantastic. So yeah, it's an amazing sport. It's a growing sport. I think these trails are highly utilized, and this proposed learning area is critically needed to help facilitate growth progression. I also see from time to time a lot of the NICA kids after practice remain at the trails, and because there's not kind of a like you were saying, Matt, like a really defined progressive set of trails where you can go from one level to the next very seamlessly. I witnessed a lot of kids where it's like, oh, I hope they're going to be okay. Like, I wonder if they should be riding those trails quite yet. But you know, it's after practice, so they're free to do what they want. So I think this is definitely something that's highly needed at these trails and will be really well appreciated. So thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. And so bike optimized facilities, I mean, they're like public parks, but there is a cost to develop, but the maintenance is just a fraction of like what goes into ball fields, redoing a swimming pool, resurfacing tennis courts, all of that stuff. And once it's up and running, we will take that over. And there's a wide range of participants. It's not geared towards just super young kids or 20-year-olds. I'm 56 and I'm still out there in the woods jumping my bike. So I've seen people older than me that are still doing this. And people that are mountain biking, like Matt said, they want to progress. They see something. Oh, I bet I could do that. You know, if I just practice, I could do that. And again, Quarry Ridge can be used almost all year. It's a great park. And Scott? And then real quick to recap our options. So the first one would just be all volunteers. We would need some dirt. We would need approval from Fitchburg and some supplies and some machine rentals. I mean, we can't move all this dirt on our own, so we would need a skid steer, some mini-X. We'd probably have to rent some machines several times to make that happen. And we'd really like to start this year. Option B would be have that professional come in and help us. We would work with him. He would do quite a bit of the work. And if we could get that dirt from the police station in the fall, it would be fantastic. That would be a huge savings. And then option 3 is just have the guy come in and do the whole thing, which would probably have to go in a CIP plan, or I'm not sure how that would work. But those are our 3 options. And the next, Scott? And I think that's it. Yeah.
I'm curious. You seemed like on the end here that you had something to share with us. Do you?
Kristen said everything I think that I needed to say or wanted to say as well. So I think, I just reemphasize the skills progression that especially the kids build mountain biking is something that we've seen coaching is a lifelong skill. It's something that, kids will start building these skills when they're 6 or 8 years old. They're on the NICA team at 12, and those skills, they don't lose them, and the people who've built those skills when they were younger continue to ride into their 60s and 70s. It's one of the few sports where you can see, 3 generations riding together. And I know that our neighborhood is really built around that. Like our next door neighbors, parents and kids ride together all the time. Across the street, we have 4 households with, across the street and next to us, all of whom ride. And it makes our neighborhood the community that it is. Like we're all out together. We all get to see each other out there and talk on the trails and say hi. And having a dedicated place where not only we can all centrally gather will be awesome, but also having a place like that where everyone has that central point where they can meet and spend time together, but also it makes it easy for everyone of different skill levels to do so. And a spot like that is really awesome for letting, the group of friends where one of the friends is newer to riding, one of the friends has been riding their whole life, and you can still go to the same central point and ride the same little loop down and then ride back up together. And it allows everyone to hang out, which is really something everyone needs.
Very nice. I appreciate all of your comments and information. As far as, Scott, what's in the capital plan coming up is just the parking lot portion.
Yep, and that certainly would be an opportunity if the Park Commission felt that they wanted to. They could add some dollars potentially, so that could be how we could roll into including it in the CIP. So certainly appreciate Michael and Matt coming up and providing an update of the current park, but certainly their vision for the future. And I can agree that it's one of our specialty parks, if you would. And it is the area that currently is there. It is a higher skilled area, so I think the idea of this beginner section would really be a benefit to the park. So,
thank you all. Oh, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. There's questions everywhere. Alder Herbst.
With the specialty park, I love biking. There's a bicycle outside. I ride my bike. I ride my bike to work all winter. I love biking. But I also have to be cognizant that 80% of our city residents never get on a bike. Okay. So what I'd say, we want to do something like this. And we're going to put that type of money, I'd like to see some sort of fundraising effort for it. Or another thought, I don't know if any of you are avid cross-country skiers like I am, but Elver Park, when we have snow, that's where I am all winter. And you have to pay it takes extra money to use that, because they maintain those trails. And that may be another avenue for us to consider is you have to have a permit to ride there. So I'm just throwing those out to you. No one's more pro bike than me, but understand most of our residents don't ride bike. So.
Heidi Reynolds.
Oh, excuse me. Just to sort of piggyback off of what Dave said there, has anybody approached Saris or Trek to see if they would be willing to sponsor some of this, put a sign up with their name, trail sponsored by Saris or Trek or whatever it is. I'm sure companies like that do a lot of donating, but I'd be willing to bet for something like this that introduces people to biking, to mountain biking, that they would be willing to probably put their name on some of the work that goes into that. Has anybody considered that?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Heidi. What we're looking for is approval for the project, and then we can start working with local businesses to say, hey, you could have this be the Saris intermediate line or the Trek beginner line. Once we have that in place, I do think that both corp and local companies would be willing to help us get this off the ground. And then, like we've said before, all of the maintenance of this park is going to be volunteers. So there's not going to be ongoing cost associated with this. It's not going to be grooming snow all winter or something like that. The grooming that happens out at Quarry Ridge is all volunteer based. So there will be some upfront cost, but that cost will be bared by corp, any organization that's willing to give donation money, and then, of course, volunteer work as well.
Okay.
And I guess that's just my concern is that we're putting the cart before the horse. I think this is a great idea, these trails. I personally am not a biker, but I know a lot of people who are, and it's great exercise. It's a wonderful sport, a good skill to learn. But I just fear we're putting the cart before the horse if we're approving a project that we haven't found a way to pay for yet. So I would, at least in my mind, I would like to encourage the commission to approve this when we are aware of, or when we have committed funding for anything that isn't going to be done by volunteers.
Well, did you say that in order for you to ask for funding, you have to have some kind of, at least a concept approval?
Yeah.
Would that be the word?
I would certainly feel more comfortable approaching companies saying, we've got this idea, we have the space, we have permission for volunteer work, but we have a vision for something greater. Would you be willing to give us money, to donate money, to help us realize this bigger vision?
Yeah. So, Scott, something like a concept approval where nobody's spending anybody else's money at the start. It's just so so the group can have
Continue
their own
on.
outreach efforts as well.
I think that'd be good, yeah.
Okay, so would that be something that, whether that occurs or not, well, we would make a decision on a concept approval, would that be under this agenda item or when we are in the next agenda?
I think that'd be
area?
up to you, but I think they're really interested and willing to get started with it. So I think if you're comfortable with making that recommendation tonight, I think you can go ahead and do that as part of this, as part of their presentation.
Okay. Go ahead, Chris.
I just wanted to recognize the benefits, number one, benefits to the local economy, number one, but also increasing, I think, mental health is really an issue for our youth, and this is one opportunity for getting kids outside, myself included, is something I think about as a dad. I haven't biked in a long time, and now that I know that this is here, and I'm sorry I was unaware of it, I'm excited to go in and see it, but I think what you point out, though, from a progression and introduction into a mountain biking and trails with a learning track makes a lot of sense. And I'd be supportive of seeing that through, but I'd absolutely like to move that forward without, at this point, a firm commitment to funding without some of that homework done. But I think going to community and businesses, saying that the park, Fitchburg Parks is supportive of this right now, and we're looking for additional support from the community. I think that makes a lot of sense, and also then builds more surrounding support for the program. So I really appreciate it, and thank you for the presentation.
Alder Herbst?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that a couple comments. One, that I think, if I remember right, Fitcherona Road is slated for reconstruction in the near future. Is that correct? So I don't know if it's been designed yet or what the plans are, but I would think it's reasonable to believe that when that is redone, it's probably going to reduce the availability of even that shoulder of the road parking, make it even less safe. So that kind of just exacerbates the need for parking lot improvements since it's already overflowing. So I think it's great that that's already in the CIP. And then the second thought is, kind of one of our goals and part of our Parks and Open Space plan is to two things. One, to diversify the types of amenities that our parks have beyond ball fields and play sets, swing sets. And so this does a great job of providing one of those really unique amenity that's really well used and really popular. So that makes me really happy, even though I'm not a biker either. Like, I'm really glad that it's there. And another thing that it does that is aligned with our department's goals and our open space plan is doing more with less. Our green space continues to grow as our city grows and our parkland grows, but the budget doesn't grow to match that. So what we need is partnerships with groups and community members and people who are engaged to help us keep our parks as great as we want them to be, something you all are clearly doing. So this is really kind of a poster child for all these goals we have for our park system that are really hard to accomplish. So good for you all for providing that, because the Parks Department can't do everything. So I'm really glad that that exists.
Go ahead.
There's two things. There's another trail that comes into the park, not from the north, but is there an option for a parking lot somewhere else, up in the neighborhood there, Scott, that would don't the trails come in there?
Is there a connection from the neighborhood itself?
If people live in the neighborhood, I can attest to it already being a parking lot when the main one gets full.
Yeah.
Well,
So you're saying the street parking in the neighborhood is being put to use. Mm-hmm. And I know I don't live too far from there, and that's a route to wherever I'm going. And it's nice to know the road's going to be improved, but it's busy and parked full, and then you have a situation with a car coming in each direction, and then someone on a bicycle, and then the parked cars. So, we'll get to it as a line item in the next section. That specific discussion about the parking lot. But for this section, it's we can take a vote about just a concept approval for the projects that you've described. That would be helpful? Okay.
Yes, very, very helpful.
Go ahead.
Could I just make one comment? Alder Herbst, you mentioned about paying for this, and actually one of the big draws is it's a free park. You don't need the Dane County Trail Pass. You don't need all of that. And also, who's going to monitor that? Like, who's going to be out there? Did you pay? Where's your pass? I mean, I just think that's extremely hard to police that.
I did want to add a comment, and I agree. When I worked at Parks, I remember the system that we had for fees, and but I think also from an equity perspective, we want to increase. And so thinking economically and every way that diversity shows up, making it more accessible for anyone who would want to use it, I think that's a good thing. I think the benefit also, like you mentioned, economically across the city is a good thing too. So we want to create more barriers. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and there may be nearby restaurants that want to sponsor as well.
Yeah. I just wanted to add, Heidi had asked, about Saris. Saris is in bankruptcy, and we were supposed to get a grant for the pump track up by the hub, and that never came about. So the taxpayers had to pay for that. So that, great company. I'm really sad it happened to them. I love the company, but we won't have a grant from them. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I'll just propose a motion for this item C to, my motion is to support in concept the presentation made here for the progression trail, all the improvements that you've talked about tonight, but leaving the parking lot separate because that's already set aside. And we already said, and I'll just say it one more time, it's not a commitment of any funds, but it's whether this group feels we can give you a concept approval so you have a basis for talking to and working on funding on what you'll need to do for funding as well. So that's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
I completely agree that I really appreciate the idea of following on a concept approval and with the comments already said as to how this aligns with our parks and open spaces. But I did have a question for you, Scott, for the water retention area as to how that path was by that pond. Did the engineer have any feedback on risk just from our history of water retention ponds or no?
They did take a look at it, and
Okay.
they didn't have concerns with it. So
Perfect. Thank you.
So we're
All right.
good. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And the other thing, just before I forget, and I appreciate very much that you know what that vegetation is there, but we would want, before anything got finalized, the city forester just to look at the existing trees. We're trying to remember to do that with some of these all of our city projects, actually, that were within the park system. So, yeah, and Scott can facilitate that. But, okay, so we had the motion and a second? Did we? Yes. Okay, all right. Those in favor of this concept, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? No. You have your concept approval. Thank you so much for your time and everything that you've done to this point.
Thanks, guys.
It's a very popular place.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item D, the capital improvement plan, our recommendations. So, Scott.
Do we want to go ahead and get a first and a second? And
I was just going to say that.
Then I'll kind of roll through it, and then there might be some amendments and approve it.
Right. In the end, there's a vote. So I'm looking for a motion regarding the capital improvement plan 2026 to 2035.
I'll move to approve the CIP for 2026 to 2035.
Second.
Okay. So go ahead, Scott, whatever.
And what I wanted to include in the information, the first chart that I have there is, if you remember the amenity chart, and I did put a value on the amenities that we have within the park system. And this is going to kind of roll into my proposal and my CIP. What I did do is I tried to itemize the items between a CIP item and an operating item, because the capital improvement item would be something that we could include in our CIP. An operating type item would have to be in the operating budget, which will come later in the fall. And you can kind of see the yellow. These are all capital improvement types of projects, and then to the right, they're the smaller amounts, which are really more operating. So that's just kind of a prelude to the discussion that we're going to have here. The first one, and we did roll through these last month, so I'll go pretty quick with these. A Moraine Edge Park is kind of a long-range project. It's not looking to happen until 2034, so it's going to remain in our queue. And then I messed up again, so I included that table again. The first item that I wanted to talk about is a park system improvements, and this is 6259. And well, here's 6259, which is in the park improvements, which basically included playground, shelters, those kinds of items. And what I did is I utilized the amenity chart with the dollars that we had allocated, and what I did is I increased this 6259 to $123,000 in 2026. Now, if you look up in the description, what I've got indicated here, it's basically the CIP items in 6259 are going to be the playgrounds, which are $68,000, and then the basketball hoop replacements. That's what, and that's not to say that there couldn't be additional items included in this 6259, but at this point, I'm thinking that we would add those two items in the 6259, and you can see in 2027 that amount would be $84,000. And then we would increase that amount $1,000 every year for inflation. But I did include $40,000 in 2026 for if you're familiar, at the splash pad, we've got chlorine and acid and chemicals that are stored in canisters, if you would, underground. And it's very difficult for parks to get to them, to maintain them. So what they're asking is that we bring those storage containers above ground. And if you're familiar with the splash pad, it would be on the east side of the mechanical room. That's where they're currently underground, to bring them above ground and then try to create a little bit of a lean-to off of the existing utility building to keep them covered. So that's what that proposal is in 6259. And again, we're kind of beginning to start to take a look at the annual expenses of the amenities. And certainly I think this could have some additional work in future years, but for this year, I'm looking to increase the playground equipment to $68,000 and then also include the basketball hoops for $15,000.
Scott, question, why, it's not a pool, it's not standing water. Our city water that we're using for it is chlorinated already. Why do we have to add additional chemicals there?
What we do is it is well water that comes in, but we treat the well water. We include chlorine and acid to balance the water, so the water is balanced. And that's for safety and bacteria control and those kinds of things. So the water has always been, it's a recirculating system. So and then we've got probes that evaluate the water and then inject the chlorine that's needed in order to keep it balanced.
Thank you. You answered my question.
So it's a recirculating system.
Okay.
So you follow me with that one? Then, and what I did do too in 6259, I did change a little bit the schedule for the playgrounds. Joran went out and evaluated the playgrounds, and we did make some adjustments as far as when we're looking to reschedule some of the playgrounds. So that's going to be, somewhat a fluid fluid kind of situation there, but we did update that to include the playgrounds that we're looking to replace, and the year we're looking to replace them. Okay. Then tennis and pickleball. And again, these are what we're looking to do in 2026 is the Swan Creek tennis courts are looking to be replaced in 2026. But then you can see after that the next replacement won't be until 2046 for the pickleball courts. And you can see on the bottom that what we've done is we're going to put in annually dollars so that when we get to that point where they need to be replaced, the dollars will be included in the account. Large shelters, we don't really know which large shelter we're going to look to renovate next, but again, we're continuing to add dollars on a yearly basis to build up that account, so when we're ready to renovate a shelter, we have dollars allocated, which is a good strategy. New development, no projects for a while. We got to kind of get, and when we'll go through the project update to kind of give you an update, but no real park projects scheduled until 2029, which will give us a nice reprieve. Recreate. This one I think is removed, so I think this one is just basically taken out. This is the Dowley Park Dunsmarsh loop, so that one will be removed in its entirety. And we've got the hub, and then the community travel beds. That'll be in 2026. That's a new project, which will happen next year.
Gravel beds, right?
Gravel bed. Yep. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Travel beds.
Travel.
Like
Gravel-
Motel 6.
Gravel beds. Yep. And then Kids Crossing, and actually we're into that project already, which I'll update you when we talk about the park project updates.
I saw just where a word could be added in here. I wrote a note to myself somewhere where it said something about inclusive, and maybe it wasn't here. I just wrote down that I wrote 6266 for 2025. It said inclusive playground, but I just thought it'd be more if it said
6256?
No, 6266.
Oh, 66.
That it says inclusive playground, but it should say, I just thought it'd be helpful for it to say McKee Inclusive Playground. But
6266.
I'm sorry that now that it's all in front of me, I'm not.
6266?
Yeah. Yeah. Where was that? Is there anywhere where it just says inclusive playground?
We're doing a shade structure. Yeah, that's this year.
Okay.
The inclusive playground shade structure, that's this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where.
All right. Just that it's for McKee, I guess, and it doesn't matter. It's happening this year. That's clear enough.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Trail circuit. Hub is really coming along. Community tree gravel bed. Kids Crossing. We're working on that, which I'll give you a quick report. Egg Museum. And this is actually, I believe, part of the Moraine Edge Park is what they're looking. But that again is a long-term, kind of in the queue. And then these are the new ones that I'm proposing. Woodlot management implementation per the forest management plan update. So kind of anticipating that we're going to get an urban forestry management plan approved this year and wanting to begin to start to put some dollars in the CIP to try and begin to start to implement that plan. And that might be, even someone coming in and writing a more detailed management plan, but I'm thinking that that might be able to be done in-house. So this might be plant material that might be purchased or utilized to implement some of the management plan recommendations that are arrived. So that's that one. McKee Farms Park soccer field. We've got interest, and actually Sue was kind enough to do an aerial. And this is McKee Farms Park. These are existing soccer fields here and here. And what we're looking to do is there's a tall grass area to the east. We're looking at potentially making these additional fields. We have a lot of interested, specifically from Sonic Soccer. And what happens is these fields are used from April till October, and they really get wore out. So what this would do would allow us to have some additional fields, so we could, in theory, rotate some of the fields so that the fields would be able to recover. Now, what we're currently doing is we're getting what is it called? Not a landscape plan, but well, we went out and shot grades. It's a grading plan, kind of a grading plan on what would need to be done in order to make that area available for soccer. So we're going to have, with that grading plan, we're going to be able to determine what the actual project is going to cost. And what I did is I put in, 150 and then 100, and really, it's going to be contingent on, I'm feeling the same as Dave is, that it's going to need to be in partnership with the Sonic group. So this is, again, kind of laying the groundwork for that. We're looking to have the grading plan potentially done this year, so that it'll give us a better understanding of what the cost is going to be. And again, I think these could be contingent on, or even moved to 27 and 28, just so until we get that funding secured and what the project is actually going to be. So what I really wanted to do is kind of begin the conversation and see what the Park Commission feels about that.
I mean, there are other parks that have soccer fields in them.
They're all used, Sam. We've got soccer fields at Tower Hill, which they use, Wildwood South.
No, where I live, there's one, and it's not being used.
Well, Chicory, yeah, that.
It'd be a lot cheaper to do that than put $100,000 in a park there.
Yeah. Well, and Chicory is difficult in that it's really more of a neighborhood kind of.
It's a soccer field.
But, I don't know how the neighbors would feel about, having practice and games and then all that traffic.
There's kids playing there already. Now, I'm just trying to say, if we're thinking about trying to save money here, or trying to get creative about where we're going to spend dollars, then let's look at what resources we already have before we start spending money on soccer fields that are going to cost us $150,000 or whatever it's going to cost us.
Yeah, and that's an estimate, right?
Right. So I'm just saying.
I'm not, I like having soccer fields, but, we're trying to get more tall grass prairie in the city for our stormwater management and everything that goes with this. And this is kind of what I would suggest. Well, I would suggest instead, those groups that they put in they put artificial turf in one of those fields so it's more durable, one of those existing ones, and we leave our grass where it is. It's hard to get that. It's hard to get as it's hard to get that established. Then you have to maintain it and mow it. And I'd like you to find another option for that one. Okay.
And I think if we can, Sue, let's if you don't mind, let's take a vote on this individually, and then at the end of the day, we'll approve it as amended by the Park Commission, which would be good.
So would you like to just do that separately
Yep,
now as we go along?
Yep. Let's take a motion and a second, and then discuss, and then you guys can approve it, and then at the end we'll approve as amended.
question. Would it be valuable to, rather than this being for a new soccer field at McKee specifically, looking at finding a home for a new soccer field somewhere or in some form without knowing exactly where that needs to be or how it needs to be built yet, but just knowing that we need it somewhere. So I'm just being able to start allotting those funds, but still giving time to figure out where to go with it. I don't know if that works or not. I'm just asking.
I just don't know if there's any current spaces that we have, Chris, to be honest with you. And really, you know, it's getting to a point now where these fields are used so much that we need to begin to start to. Case in point, the Sonic group, they were very helpful and wanted to make some improvements. So they went out there this fall, put some dirt down and put some seed there. But then they turn around and say, hey, we want to use them on April 1. And you just, all the work that they did is going to go for naught because it's just dirt right now. So,
for example, at Wildwood South, is that used how many times a week by the group?
It's get used a couple times.
A couple times a week?
Yeah.
And there used to be more goals there. There were, you know, like 2 full fields.
Yep.
But now there's not, so.
Well, there is going to be 1 full field there now for the Sonic group.
Okay.
So they'll be there.
Because for a while there were, it looked like there were 2 fields, and then there was 1 field, and then just half a field. I could be wrong in what I'm remembering.
It was used for a while, but then there was several years in there where it wasn't used. But now their group continues to grow, so they're going to be using those fields again this year.
There's room for 2 fields there, because that's what I thought had been there before.
Not for the age groups that they have. They need bigger fields. So.
Okay.
So I just wanted to mention
What about Southdale?
Oh, Southdale.
Sorry.
Southdale, yep, that's another area potentially.
I wanted to mention the park features that we have at McKee Farms, that we have parking, that we have a shelter, that we have bathrooms, et cetera, which makes for better play. But also the other intent of this is to rotate the field so that the fields can grow back. And we had similar situations at Madison Parks. We're managing fields so that we had that ability. That the erosion of the soil is also an issue. So it's balancing out, the resources that we do have. So I think if we were to look at Chicory Meadows, we don't have the parking situation there. We don't have bathrooms. We have other things that this park has. Those things. So it supports games and families. So just mention that.
Go ahead, Sarah.
To the point of modifying this to be more vague and just say, add a soccer field, could it potentially I agree with Dave. I like that prairie in McKee, but understood that it's a nice park that has a lot of facilities. So could it be changed to be more vague to state either build or improve to, I don't know the fake turf, but to work around the erosion, because I think planning for the future and acknowledging that we need more fields makes total sense. I'm hesitant to commit to the McKee.
And I think my intent really was to get the conversation going, and like I say, we're kind of doing some investigative work to determine if the area at McKee could be utilized. So the idea of maybe it's let's just move it out a little bit, and then we continue to investigate. And you had good ideas about other parks and those kinds of things. And I think it's getting to the point too where, similar to Corp, we've got to create these partnerships, and they've got to be able to participate. And in fairness, the Parks Department is a great partner for them. We've got the land, we provide it. If a group goes out and tries to purchase their own land and do all of these kinds of things, I think it's just as a win-win, and they, and they're the ones that are going to have to play on the fields when they play April till October, they're going to have to play on them.
So from a partnership perspective too, I think, this is a centrally located park, again, and then also to support tournaments that are, those partnerships will want to use those fields for. So I just think that we have to think about the partnership piece and who's using them as well as we balance and figure out what the best location is. But for me, this feels very ideal, and are there other ways that we can support prairie grass growth elsewhere? Or
and actually, if I might, this is truly a tall, a tall grass area that we're looking to. This is just tall grass, but over here, this is the area that I really envision as kind of the prairie. There's a lot of purple asters and those kinds. And actually, if you can see, there's a bit of a drainage ditch that comes through here, and this area too could also be that prairie, if you would. And that's not to say that because there's topography, there might be a little bit of a hill that comes in here, so a ribbon of prairie that comes around and all of those kinds of things. So I think we can provide that diverse opportunity at McKee, even within this larger area here or here, and then even around the new soccer fields if we do them there.
Well, one of the things about that area, I walked it with a friend yesterday evening, and she's there at the park a lot, and I just wanted her perspective. And she was upset about the possible idea of that being changed to something else. But that's not an area that was ever seeded with natives. No, it's tall grass because it's grass that hasn't been cut. Yeah. So it's not as though if everything else aligns and fields are put there, it's not removing something that the city invested a lot of money. It's not being burned and reseeded. Yeah. But it's to me would be helpful as long as that's occurring. The community learns then that yes, in conjunction, try to make some actual areas with the plants you really would expect to see filling in around or up in that part to the east of that. North of that bump out path, you had right there. That whole area, all of that could be made to be more official. Would sort of soften the blow of people feeling like, well, now you just cut everything down and put in some soccer fields. But at the same time, I'll agree with others here about making sure that we're using the other space. And for example, I mentioned Wildwood South, and there used to be 2 fields. I don't know sizes, et cetera, et cetera. And then you do get into that issue of parking on the streets and, people rushing to get to this practice or game and going faster than they should. And right.
My concern in there, Scott, was it seemed like we rejected these guys who came in here for the bike thing based on their inability to fund. Right. And here we are saying, Sonic, it's okay for us to build a soccer field for your purpose. I don't see the difference. Right. So maybe I'm, but I don't see the difference, guys. So I mean, they should fund this if they're the users of that soccer field, then we should apply the same measures that we just told these bike guys that they can't spend, that we can't spend $100,000 on to support their efforts. I don't see the difference.
No, I agree.
Fair point.
Agreed.
Okay, thanks. So, any other comments?
So to answer that question, tournament use, we ask for fees for tournaments and bring in revenue for that. Yeah. So I think, fair question, but is there a way to evaluate what we'd be bringing in through tournaments and usage through the organization?
Right. And maybe the best, if I might, that you're interested in it, and we just moved the funding to 2027 and 2028, and we continue to work with the Sonic Group, and then in 2027 they come up with half the cost to build it, and then we build it.
The other part of this is part of your direction was to make McCaw the recreation park, right? And so one of the areas that maybe we should look at is if we're going to build new something, and McCaw is going to be our recreation park, then we should move recreation facilities there.
Yeah, some recreation.
So do you want any kind of vote or
Yeah, I think a little bit of direction, yep, that'd be on what you'd like to do.
Just one other thing to add. I was looking at satellite pictures a little bit, and I think, looking at the park as a whole, I think there are, with a little bit of creative Tetrising of things around, there's just for example, the small field on the southernmost end can be moved up to nearer the parking lot. There's room for another one there where there are only 2 striped currently. So that leaves us room for another big field down on the south there. So that, we've added 1 field just by doing that, potentially. And I think that there could be some other ways to maybe fit in others with minimizing damage to the tall grass area. Because I'm conflicted because I agree with both Chris's and Dave's points, and I don't know where I land in the middle other than I agree with both of them. So on the other hand, there are, if it's a matter of the field's getting worn out as much as it is demand for more space, we could look into options like reinforcing the turf with like a synthetic sort of grid that prevents that erosion from breaking down, that extends the life. And so that's obviously not free either, but I think that, maybe if we looked at this as a soccer field improvements project, however that may take shape, we might have more freedom and give us time to do a more comprehensive planning process rather than just saying, let's plop in a couple new fields in the tall grass.
One other thing I just add is, thinking if we do push out this to a later year, like 2027, is the impact to the organization. And I think, the organization itself is a primarily Latino serving organization, and there's an equity piece that I'd like to consider around that. Increasing access to the outdoors, specifically for marginalized communities. I think it's just something we need to consider as a part of the lens.
Okay, so would someone like to offer a motion?
Let's have Chris make a motion.
I was thinking, when you were saying that, I thought, well.
No, I like the idea. I like the idea of
the way you phrased your remarks.
Soccer improvement plan is, so it's more of a comprehensive look at what we can do to it, and that might be improvements to the existing fields. The goal area gets wore out, so maybe we create some permanent AstroTurf or whatever it might be in those and what we're doing right now is we're kind of rotating the fields around just because the wear spots are in certain spots.
One question, Scott, just you would know before I would, the cost of a AstroTurf type field to what we're proposing now. And if we push it out into the future, again, we're not really considering the additional cost through time. So, you might be able to answer that in a cost comparison.
It would be, and I think that could be part of the exercise, right? But I think it'd be, I don't want to say significantly more to doing it.
Yes. Oh, hi. I'm sorry.
So because I know a little bit about soccer and soccer fields, a couple of years ago I tried to do a turf field in McKee. I think it was like 7 years ago. And at that time, I did all the research, how much it's going to cost. A regular soccer turf costs more than $1 million. So I want to tell you that because this is what it costs. Only the turf. And then you need to maintain that. So it's costly too. So because I did the research. The other thing that Sonic was looking is because some of the size of the soccer field that we have in McKee, they don't follow regulation for tournaments. So this is what they are also trying to if we can build another on the east part of the park, because we need to have a one that it follows the actual regulation by FIFA or, to play.
Yeah.
Because they use it for a lot of tournament. So this is what the other concern about them is that the side of the soccer field that they are using, they don't follow regulation. And I agree with some of the comment that you made about the rotation, because they, when they're using continuously, and believe me, I live 2 blocks away from that park. They are everyone using, not only Sonic, but you have all the other people during the week that they're using playing soccer. Some of the area of the field are very torn up, So the others in the funding, because this is a community park, some of the funding for those projects can be used with part education fee. So that one is another option of fund. It is not taxpayer money. We use it because this park is a community park. So this is something to consider too. But I agree that sometime, during tournament season, they need more soccer field in the park. This is where the option that we were working with them, that they want to participate and be partners in this process. And as a soccer, my kid used to play soccer competitive, and we used to play in Verona because Verona have the big soccer fields area, and it has attract a lot of family from other. When you have a tournament, there are people coming from other municipalities around us, and there is like a, it brings also economic. What to say? I remember to our community. So but the question is about. To build this additional soccer field is because we don't follow the regulation right now. And we need to have one of the soccer fields to follow that.
Could some of those soccer fields be resized to regulation?
We tried to do that last year, isn't it? We tried to move one.
Well, and actually what we do in this area is we have, there's a range of regulations. So we're able to fit a full size north and south this way. And actually, I think what they're going to do is they're going to rotate it down further here. So we're able to get a regulation size here, about a mid-size here, and a mid-size here. And then they're also using Tower Hill and Wildwood South. But this is the only, a regulation size field pretty much takes this whole area. So that's where we're thinking that this could actually provide enough space for another regulation size field.
Is that going to provide for growth if soccer continues to grow the way we expect it to? So where would you put another one if we needed it?
That's
right. So my point was, if we have already designated Bagua as our recreation park, maybe that's where we ought to be putting some of these fields.
Is there room there? What is it? Yeah.
So to Chris's point, then maybe we should evaluate that.
Yeah, to evaluate it in total. We know this immediate need, but we don't have, at least I don't have an understanding of the inventory and how well it works, and then taking into consideration whether there's a restroom, what kind of parking at those options.
Right.
We just had more places in Fitchburg has had more stormwater issues than right here. It's the first thing I dealt with. I came on Public Works 33 years ago. And, we just did a big project there. I don't know, to take out, Prairie.
That is not Prairie. Okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Thank you for your comments.
I think Chris's point is the right one. We should probably just take a look at this and decide where it makes sense, because there is a growth element to soccer, and there is apparently a real need for these things. So the question is, where should they be?
Yeah.
I think Chris is right.
Yeah. Again, I'm the first one to, I'd put prairie on the ceiling if I could, but that area, it's never been burned or reseeded, so, and it's providing a service, it's not paved, so it's filtering storm water, but it was mowed, but it looked like invasive grasses in part to me, just walking past with my friend, and I could be wrong, and those aren't doing a good job of filtering. But if you, at the same time, gave more, if this was a location for some fields and you gave more consideration to putting in the right kind of plants, you might be able to do both, filter stormwater and also get your fields.
There you go. There's an option.
Okay, and Heidi.
I'm inclined to make a motion to table this for right now. My thoughts are, if it's $1 million to build a field, I'm questioning the regulation portion of it, meaning if we're not building it to regulation, then are we going to be able to use it for tournaments, which it would seem we are not. And I would also like to talk to the other stakeholders, Sonic and some of the other groups that want us to build this, and see what they're willing to commit to this project. And I think I agree with Chris in that it's not a bad idea to say, hey, we need to look at what we want to do with the soccer fields. I think that's a good thing. But I think before making any concrete decisions, we really need to talk to more of the people involved and see what they're willing to commit.
Well, and I think even though you use the word table and Chris had more of an idea of doing more exploration, by doing more exploration before making a decision, it's in essence, we're not voting on an expenditure then. We are voting on exploration of more ideas. Is that making sense? Okay. So back to Chris Sina, who said something so eloquent, and I just got to remember what it was. You talked about just exploring what, in the form of a motion, what would you say?
My thought was keeping funds in the CIP, but funds for soccer field improvement / expansion, understanding that we don't know what form that might take yet.
Okay.
So if that sounds like it has legs, I would make that motion.
Well, I'll second it. So
I would second that.
Yeah.
Can you repeat it?
Yeah.
I move to include money in the CIP for future soccer field expansion or improvements.
Yeah. And that's
I'll second.
Yeah. And we know, Scott knows, it's based around the needs we've discussed tonight, and we just
Do we want to leave the funding in 2026 and 2027, or do you want to move it to 2027 and 2028, because that would allow us that time to take a look at things?
the latter, the 27, 28,
Yeah.
you think is best?
2026.
It's coming, yeah.
That's next year. Well, maybe the project would move quickly, and we get contributions, and then
If it's not used in
it keeps
26,
the options open.
right? If it's
Yeah.
not used in 26, it's
No,
is it
that's a good
carried
point.
over?
No. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Then I would say keep it in for 2026.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say so.
And then what I'll do is I'll change, if it's approved, I'd change the title of the CIP to Explore Soccer Field Improvements and Expansions.
Okay. All right, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Just on that piece of it.
On that piece, on
Yep,
this
very good.
line, a line
And
item.
then moving along, Nine Springs Golf Course. What I did is I included, if you're familiar with the golf course, the maintenance facility there, definitely we're in need of expanding that maintenance facility. I did talk with building inspection, and they felt that with it being cold storage, that we could certainly expand on the current facility that we have there. And he thought $75,000 would be a good amount to be able to expand the existing maintenance facility building to improve the maintenance storage and clean up the area, if you would. So that's this one.
I wanted to comment that I'm familiar with this area, and it's really junky looking.
Yep.
I have a friend I visited
Yep.
every day at the apartment adjacent, and now with the hub being finished up,
Yeah.
et cetera, it's not a good look.
No, it's got to be done. Yeah, I agree.
One golf course in Fitchburg, and it should look a little better.
Yeah. Excellent. Then the park and open space plan update, there was one action item that I wanted to put dollars in, was the evaluate parkland dedication, fee in lieu of dedication, park impact fees, and then funding of long-term maintenance to put in $25,000 in 2026 and 2027 to get someone to come in and help us with that exercise. Quarry Ridge recreational area, back to the presentation. This would be for the parking lot expansion. And I think independent of the success of the beginner group, I think they demonstrated that the area is overgrown and it's in need of some additional parking. So this is basically, I did talk with Sam in engineering, and they're the ones that gave me the estimate of $130,000. So I thought 2026 we could put 60 in, and then in 2027 we could put the balance of 70. Well, and then Dave asked me to include the assessment for Kids Crossing, which is a pretty lengthy document, which I did include. So I think with that, a motion to approve as amended would be good, and I think Chris did make the motion to approve, and Christopher did second it, so I think just an amendment to include the soccer field improvement exploration definition in that CIP would.
What about Kids Crossing?
Oh, well, I will tell you that Kids Crossing project is approved by the Common Council, and we're currently out for RFP to get a professional services to come in and help us put together the bidding document, so that ship has sailed. That's for sure.
I don't think the public's been made aware. I've been getting deluged by people whose names are on the sign and have bricks. And they said, what? You're going to tear down our park, which is very unique. And I believe we need to tap the brakes to get more feedback on this, Scott. I'm sorry. It's
well, and again, I think that needs to come. Well, I don't want to. The project is underway. It certainly is. The facility is wore out. It's become unsafe. We unable to maintain it at this point. I think there might be. What's that?
No,
it's not closed down. No. But well, it's becoming unsafe. It's hard to maintain it.
All right, but then I'm confused about isn't that part of the budget that we're talking about now?
Yes.
No, the CIP was approved for well, here, where is?
It's last year.
Yeah.
Actually, it was approved. Why did I include that CIP in here? 6277.
Scott, has the RFP gone out yet, or you're preparing the RFP?
Nope, the RFP is out. It's due on the 17th.
Was there an element in their requirement for any community engagement type process?
Yes,
okay.
yes, there's a couple community engagement pieces of the project, yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if there's also a way to historically recognize the engagement and the existing structure as it is. And
Certainly,
I
certainly,
think
certainly.
to Dave's point and some of the concerns coming from community, I would love to see a way that we can recognize
Certainly.
that love
Certainly.
to the park.
Certainly.
But I did also want to just say that, there's an accessibility, a major accessibility issue beyond the increasing safety issues. My kids love this park, but also I'm very aware of pulling splinters out of their hands in this park, and we've also witnessed other families with mobility issues having a very difficult time using this part of the park.
Is that a waste of my time then, or what was that about? Yeah. What was the 64-page document?
Well, Dave asked me to include that.
Okay.
Alder Herbst.
So is this going to be a wholesale replacement of this park, or just renovation?
No.
Yeah, because based on what I read in this document, it sounds like there's still a lot of elements in this park that are good. Why would we, like the swings are good, and some of the other elements are still fine. Why would we remove all of those?
I went to the park with builders, professional builders, and I said, look at this, give me your assessment. I said, I'm open, and they looked, and these guys, this is their business. And they said, I think, first they said, you guys haven't done the maintenance you should have on the park. And, okay, but they indicated they felt, power washing, sandblasting, and then sanding and sealing the structure and replacing the bad wood is within reason, and we could probably again engage the community to help us with some of that, that work. It's a unique structure. I don't want the cookie cutter metal. This thing is wondrous. If you go down there and listen. Sit and I ask mothers or fathers, parents that are there, and it's a fort. This is magical. This is nothing that is around anywhere else. And to tear it down, it kind of spits in the face of the people that donated and built it, and to not to have a little more engagement and thought put into this is one person's opinion.
Well, in with all due respect, Alder Herbst, the project was brought before the Common Council. They approved it, and we're beginning to start to implement it. So if there's any change to the project, that I feel needs to happen on the Common Council floor. It was a mayor's project that the Common Council approved and put dollars in it to come now and we've started, to come now and say we shouldn't do it, I think is it's, like I say, the Common Council approved it, and I got direction to work on it, so I'm working on it, and if you can get another co-sponsor and get it approved at the Common Council, then we can go that way. But
Scott, am I missing something? I just don't remember ever seeing this stuff. It
didn't come from us.
So why wouldn't we have reviewed it before Common Council would have approved it? That doesn't make sense.
The mayor proposed it, and then the Common Council approved it.
On it though.
But there's still protocol, and the Park Commission still needs to be consulted.
Yeah. We looked at the costs, and the mayor and Scott, did a good job. Roughly $1 million. Initially, the mayor had $500,000 from donations or community. Because we built this with volunteer funds, and then the mayor said, "Oh, we can't raise any money, so it's all taxpayer funded." And that's when the hair on my back stood up and said, "We need I'd like a little deeper dive into this." So that's why you see this. I apologize, Scott, putting you in the middle of it. You're doing your job, but
the project is going.
The people whose names are on those bricks or on that sign in front are more than agitated right now, I would tell you.
Well, and I don't think they have the full understanding of what's happening. I think they're, well, I guess I've said my piece.
Well, and once again, to reiterate what Sam said, this never came before the Park Commission. This is a pretty big deal. And for it to completely bypass all of the normal protocols, that's the whole point of having a Park Commission. I understand it was a mayor's proposal, but the mayor still has to follow the protocol as well.
We've been discussing this playground being replaced for upwards of 2 years now in the broader sense. So this isn't the first time that we've ever seen this project. So we haven't seen this particular report before, I don't think, but we've discussed allotting funds for its replacement. Now, what that's going to look like, I don't know. And I think however it happens definitely needs to be respectful of the people that got it here in the first place. And I think that is what we need to take responsibility for as a Parks Commission, and then get public engagement and buy-in to make sure that that happens. So when this project, because you can't argue that something needs to be done about this park. It can't sit as it is right now. So however those changes happen, that consultant that we're going to be working with, we need to tell them what we want it to look like. And we need to find out from the community what they want it to look like. So I think that in the end of this has the potential to be a win-win, everybody's happy type of scenario. But we need to be very careful about getting to that point to make sure it's done in the right way. And we need money to do all of that. So it's a good thing that it's in the CIP, because something has to happen.
Well, one of the things I noticed, I never brought my kids there. I'm not from this area originally, but with grandkids there, if I understand correctly, that these were like prefabbed sets that were ordered from a company, and then the work was done by community members, and the prefab set, I think you could probably customize it, was paid for by the community. And so just a thought for the future, nothing for here and now, but there may be ways of preserving some of the facade or the recognizable elements of it, so that if there's, because what it looks like when I'm there with my grandkids is everyone is like a gigantic fort and everybody's having a blast. And you don't get that same feel from your standard metal structure. So just a thought. Okay. All right. So now we've gone through it all. We had the separate vote about the soccer, correct? Did we? We had a separate vote about the soccer.
Yep, that was the only one.
We just did that, thank you. It's getting late for me. I'm usually in my jammies by now. And the parking lot for the biking group would be part of this vote overall. Okay, anything else that we need to cover? So it's just a motion. We had a motion in a second. Go ahead.
One other one, I forget what element it was, but for an ag museum, or $500,000, that's way out there, but, I suspect most of you weren't like me, that you spent a large amount of your childhood hoeing potatoes, growing gardens, to have your family, help your family sustain itself. I just, I love gardening. I run a community garden. I don't think $500,000 for an ag museum is money well spent for our residents. It's out there a ways. We don't have to address it now, but I just want to put that out there.
Yeah. Okay. So we have motion, a second. Those in favor of approval of this, the capital improvement plan for 2026 to 35, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. As amended, yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed most of that. My screen went completely blank until about 2 seconds ago.
Okay. Well, the recap was we approved the capital improvement plan as amended regarding the soccer fields. And as for the playground area, that, you know, this is the planning element part of it, and there will be additional community engagement whereby some ideas about keeping everybody happy in the long run is the ultimate goal.
Always the goal, right?
Before anything's torn down. Correct?
Yeah,
Before
right.
anything's
Yeah,
torn down?
yeah, nothing would, that's way at the end of the first half of the project.
Yep.
Okay. So now.
Okay. I can live with that.
Okay. And with discussion items for 6, that's nothing there, but communication, parks project updates, Scott.
Yep, and I did include an updated lot of projects currently underway. The Tower Hill Park Shelter, McKee Farms Park siding, and the McGaw pickleball courts. We had pre-cons for all of those projects, and actually we do have a pre-con.
And pre-con means?
That's when the city and the contractor gets together and figures out how everything is going to proceed to get developed.
Okay.
And then we actually, is that good?
Pre-construction, right?
Pre-construction,
That's what that means.
yep. And then we actually have a pre-construction meeting next week for the Stoner Prairie Park project. We can't forget that's going to be built this year also. And then I did refer the Southdale Park plan for the bathrooms, the open air shelter, and the spray amenity. We have an RFP out for professional services that's due April 17th. And we also have that for the Kids Crossing design, as I mentioned before. We've got some playgrounds at Southdale and Rimrock that are in the queue that'll come back to the Park Commission in May. And that's about it for updates on those projects, unless you have any questions about that. So those are all moving, and actually Hatchery Hill grading, that is underway. If you remember, there was a cut at the hub that we're going to use the fill. We're going to strip at Hatchery Hill, the topsoil, put the fill in, and then regrade. It tends to be a collector of water at Hatchery Hill, so that's going to help us make it more usable, especially in the spring. The hub is going, and actually we're going to be having a meeting internally next week and beginning to start to formalize how it's going to be maintained. That'll be one component, and then the next component is how it's going to be programmed. We got to rent it and those kinds of things, and how we're going to be doing that. Yes, Christopher.
So a question on the hub, is it safe to tour? Would it be something that we could tour?
Certainly. Give me a shout, and then we can run over there and take a look at it. That's for sure.
Yeah, thanks for getting the community garden forms out to me and keeping me on track. Appreciate that.
Yep, we're community garden season's right around the corner.
Signing up new people.
Yeah, and we opening up new plots, which is good.
Okay, I have a little bit to add about park project updates, in that we had that Plant Dane program going where people could donate towards plants for a couple of different areas, and all of them were fully funded thanks to donations. So McGaw Park will have 80 plants, and that's a project between the access drive and the walking path. There's an area where people want to park on the grass right up along the tree roots to watch games. And so at that project that Anna's working at is to, you can see, if you go there, you can see where the turf has been killed off, and that's going to be native plants and shrubs in there. So it will look more like something that people think maybe I shouldn't be driving on this. So that's 80 plants. And the Wildwood South area, which is a restoration with native plants that has been worked on for 2 years with killing off all the invasives, burning, and it'll be reseeded, and that project has 100 plants that are going in. And in addition to that, I just heard from a different place I applied called Monarch Watch, and if I'm reading this right, and I'm not sure I am, I think there's 164 milkweed plants that's pretty much free. And then Chicory Meadow, I don't remember exactly how many plants, but maybe about 80 there, and that's all the volunteers planted, so that's all good stuff.
Excellent work, Sue. Excellent.
So, yeah, I'll have a question when you get to your reports, but, so we're done with updates then?
Unless
Okay.
there's questions, yep.
Any other questions? So, anyone have any questions on staff reports? Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
Walking with that friend through the McKee, and this question came up about the memorial. There's memorial trees where someone is honoring, and there's a memorial bench too now, where that I saw.
Yep.
And the trees have the families that purchase the trees also purchase some type of a marker.
Right.
The question was asked of me is, are there standards, or what do we tell a family member when they're wanting to put a tree in and they say, well, what can we do in addition to purchasing the tree?
I meet with them, we go out and find a spot, and they pay for it, and that's how we kind of proceed with it.
But like for the size of the marker of, there's some, the remark was made that it looks like a cemetery marker. And so I'm passing that along, and because the question is, it's all great, we've got some more trees, and we are honoring someone, but is maybe just a future agenda item to talk about what do other parks do?
Right.
Because if you had 100 of them, all of a sudden you'd think you were walking through a cemetery.
I definitely went rogue on it, that's for sure.
Well,
in people, and I said, and actually there's a couple trees out there that have cremain dog remains in there, so yeah. There's no policies or rules, or I just kind of went for it.
Okay.
Can I buy one?
Yeah.
You can, sure.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
Exactly. I'll do my pre-planning now.
So it definitely went rogue. There's no rules or regulations or policies, and I guess we're getting to the point where we need to have those, I guess. I don't know.
It's probably not a bad idea. Well, but what I wanted to comment, then the next question that came up was the bench. It's a nice bench, and it honors
on the pond,
along the pond there.
Yeah.
And so this is twofold, because we were both really confused, figured it out later at night. It's an honor of a man, and then there's left and right of the bench, there's these little garden stakes, and his name is on each one of them, and we're thinking, are these all his cats or dogs, etc.? Well, what it is, when you look, now I know what it is. Underneath his name, it says that he was a hybridizer and developed daylily species. So the plants with the markers on either side of the bench are the various species of daylilies that he created.
And we did
so that's really
good job on
that's
the
very
road
cool. But then the follow-up question was, there's a good part and there's a bad part. No,
there's no bad part.
The concern, here's the concern question of, is that always going to be mowed then all the way down to the pond? Because it looked like a lot of natural growth was taken down, not just where the bench is, but all the way forward to the pond. Do you know what's going on there?
I would think that what we'll do is we'll probably take one swipe around the front,
and the rest will grow back. Because it's a mystery. The bench is there, but why did it get clear cut all the way down?
Because that's what I asked them to do.
So nothing got poisoned off. We expect it'll grow back.
It'll grow back, but there was some trees,
some bad stuff.
Yeah, that needed
to be
so you can create the view to the pond. So.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will report back regarding the inquiry I received.
Sure.
Okay,
Have 'em give me a shout.
shall do. It was last minute, late. Okay, so we're ready to adjourn. Other future agenda items? Anybody got anything?
We'll have a couple playgrounds in May. God, there was something else too.
I mean, it doesn't have to be next month, but I would like for us to learn more about ways to memorialize so that we start to get a standardized idea. Otherwise, I'm going to buy a tree and leave a little vault underneath there.
If anybody wants to plant trees before their demise, we're doing one on Earth Day here in Chicory Meadow. We're going to be planting probably 12 to 14 trees.
Oh, all right. You looking for volunteers?
I'm just bringing it out there, so if people are interested, there's going to be people in Chicory doing it. We had a bunch last year, and so we'll be planting.
Memorial trees?
Yep.
Yep,
So we'll be planting more trees on Earth Day at about 10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock?
Earth Day.
Is that the 22nd?
If it rains, then we'll be doing, the Friday?
Yeah.
We should know, but
Is it the 22nd? Is that
I believe
Earth Day?
that is Earth Day,
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
Thank you, Sam.
No.
These are the trees we got from from Alliant Energy. Okay. We won that bid.
Okay. All right. So, again, the memorial thing doesn't have to be next month, but I think we should talk about it. And our next two meetings, May 1st and June 5th, and a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And seconded. Those in favor of adjournment at 8:29, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.